On to some not so happy news now. I'm going to take us through how the government, particularly the UK government and other Western governments, invade your neighbourhood, because the government at any time will just airdrop in a load of new soldiers, new British people into your neighbourhood, which you can do absolutely very little about, and this is a lot down to the completely broken asylum system that we have in the UK. Max on Twitter, excellent poster, I've been promoting him quite a bit recently, but honestly he's been doing some really good work, found this post on Reddit from a former asylum decision maker who now works for the Department of Work and Pensions, where he explains just how broken the system is. Now, this is from a year ago, so we'll see in a moment that Max actually got contacted by people who work for who work as asylum decision makers right now, who filled in some extra developments that have gone on since a year ago.
It was bad a year ago, but it's so much worse now.
It's so much worse. So if you're wondering why it is that the UK government just lets so many asylum claims through, it's because basically the entire system works in as a system of middle management office targets. So in the same way that when I worked at a call centre, I was expected to hit a certain amount of calls every day and behave in a particular kind of way on those calls, and maybe if I was doing insurance, get a certain amount of claims through every day. That's the exact same kind of target incentive structure that they have for asylum claims decision making. So here, he says, the role changed so much in a single year, your target is events. That's interviews with asylum seekers or completed decisions, either grant or refusal. Initially, the target was 4 events. By the time I left, it was up to 8, as the Prime Minister tries desperately to clear the backlog. Now, this would have been Rishi Sunak, but we know that Keir Starmer has made similar promises.
Is that like per day or per week or what?
I would assume per day, or at least maybe per week, actually. He says, so the job is aggravating because asylum seekers have all been prepped in the 2 or so years between claiming asylum and the interview that they end up having with you. For example, every Turkish or Iranian claims the same. Supporter of a political party, spotted putting up anti-government posters, chased escapes, goes to uncles while the authorities raid their home, gets stuffed in a lorry and taken out of the country, every single one. Then there's Eritreans. If they prove they're Eritrean and not, for example, Ethiopian.
Just funny, Erdogan, check the lorries. Check the lorries.
I know you've got him on speed dial, so I'm sure he'll take your advice there. Thank you, Carl. You're an excellent ally. Then if they prove they're Eritrean, they automatically get granted because nobody can legally leave Eritrea, and they will be imprisoned upon return.
Hello, dictator of Eritrea. Check the lorries.
Same for the Iraqis. Get them on the phone too, Carl. Every Iraqi needs a CSID card in Iraq, or they'll get questioned at checkpoints. Every single Iraqi claims that they have lost theirs, so they automatically get granted humanitarian protection.
Lost it, bro.
Because if they return to Iraq without it, they'll be tortured at the airport. Regarding the targets as well, so here's where the slippery middle management aspect of it comes into it. Regarding the targets, a grant takes about half a day to write. So that's if you're letting them into the country.
So it's going to be 8 a week.
A refusal, a full day. This is not considered when the weekends and your total is totted up, so what you'll get is a case that you want to refuse, but you'll be missing your target if you do so, and you'll find a reason to grant it instead anyway. That's basically how the Prime Minister is trying to clear the backlog. So not actually taking due diligence, not actually looking into the accuracy of the claims and processing them that way, just get them through to meet your target because your job is at stake.
Directly incentivized to let people in.
Yeah. This is another layer of the onion of deception, because what happens here is that what we need to bear in mind when we're talking about European countries and Western countries and countries elsewhere is that we have democracies, and because we have democracies, a lot of politicians think only their re-election, and they have 4 years planning in their mind. And what happens is that in other countries such as these, they may have decades of planning before. So one of the plans that they have is to ship a lot of people into the West, make them vote for the open borders agenda, and then open the borders and be able to increase the power of the lobby in the West.
That's certainly one aspect of it. But also, again, the managerialism of our current society just means that every aspect of society has to be managed in the same way that an office environment does. And it's subject to the same petty incentives that they all are. And in fact, somebody in the replies here has said, I see this also from the job centre side. Now, interestingly, earlier on this year, I spoke to somebody who works at a local job centre and mentioned, because he was living near a load of the Turkish barbers and stuff, and I joked saying, I see you've got a lot of money laundering fronts nearby. And he was like, yeah. And then he started talking about his job in the job centre, saying that he would get these large groups of Albanians who clearly couldn't speak English but had all claimed asylum or got into the country in some illegal way. And they would always have one representative who could speak English, who had been coached on what to say to get them all jobs, and he couldn't do anything about it, even if he knew that what was going on right in front of his eyes was illegal. Yeah. So, but from what you see there, that's pretty bad. Yeah. Obviously, that's terrible. Well, as I mentioned, people have been getting in touch with Max ever since then, and it's gotten a lot worse. A lot worse. So he couldn't reveal who sent him these DMs, really? But you can see here that he has been DM'd by people saying that the grants that took a half day to write, now they've got a streamlined process that takes 10 minutes.
Rubber stamp,
yep.
rubber stamp.
Copy and paste templates of reasons for every decision. Refusal letters still take a day or longer.
People wonder why we're a poor country now.
Yeah. He says, I'm not exaggerating. If somebody is interviewed and the interviewer thinks, yeah, that's probably a grant, the streamlined process is 5 checkboxes and 2 places to paste pre-written case law. That's just the job. The job, if you get hired as an asylum decision maker, your job is not to make a decision on the legitimacy of their claim. Your job is to rubber stamp it. And it gets even worse here. Vast majority, he says, of children we get are over 18, pretend to be kids.
I can't believe they're taking us for mugs.
I know. Making a decision on age is the responsibility of social workers. If they make a decision that the applicant is a child, the councils get money, further incentives. And who do the social workers work for? Well, they work for the councils. So there's incentives at every stage of this structure to get them through and get them through as quickly as possible, because then The Guardian, The Times, all of the newspapers can print nice big headlines saying backlog cleared. That's the hope, at least.
That's what the government wants.
Yeah, that's what they want. That's what they hope. But then they keep coming across the channel, so the problem is never ending.
And I bet they went to the nudge unit and were like, look, we just need a system of incentives to get the people doing the approvals to just approve really quickly. And they're like, oh, right, we can sort that out for you.
Yeah, and you can see on the government website itself the kind of funding incentives that go to these councils. So as an example, Kent is recognised as being a geographical disadvantage because of the number of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children arriving by small boats. So additional funding is made available to encourage quicker transfers of these children from Kent County Council's care. And this was from 31st up until 31st of October, just a few weeks ago. And another scheme is going until the end of this month, the 30th of October. The one that was going up to the 30th of November. The one that was going up to the end of October was that if you could get a transfer within within 2 working days, the council would get 15 grand for it. The one that's running up until November, the end of November, is if you can get it within 5 working days, a transfer from Kent to any other council in the country, you get 6 grand for it. And the councils are chronically underfunded, or at least they say they are, because they're spending so much in health and social care, as we looked into with Swindon last year.
Yeah, every day I become more inclined to some kind of V for Vendetta solution. So yeah, let's just have that. They're not going to be spending loads of money on refugees.
No comment. No comment on that. But here it ends up with situations like this, which is an excellent thread on a situation that is developing currently in Altrincham, which is a town in Greater Manchester. And let's go through what's going on. An influx of recent migrants to Altrincham has hit the local news, the national news this week, and this is an insider account of what has been going on. So as of last week, 300 all-male migrants were bussed into the Cresta Court Hotel in Altrincham. This was the evening that it was announced to the public, presumably to cause as little stir as possible. The deal was between Serco, the Home Office, and the owners of the hotel.
When I take over, Serco's getting a bollock. established.
Oh, absolutely. The owner of the hotel, well, he was the former Football Association chair and ex-director general of the BBC, Greg Dyke, who received substantial compensation and ministerial approval to house these migrants. He'd previously given Tony Blair a £55,000 donation in the 90s and is closely affiliated with the Labour Party. So he's an insider, getting backhand deals from them. The hotel is within yards, I think it's basically opposite a primary school. 10 minutes walk from Loretto Girls' School and 17 minutes walk from Altrincham Girls and Bowden Girls' Primary, fueling concerns about the safety of the local children.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, and the first that the locals heard about it, as you can see from the screenshot of a Facebook comment, was a news page posted that bookings for the forthcoming year at the hotel were cancelled without warning, including events and people's weddings.
Oh, this is just like the migrant hotel we had very recently, where just all of the rooms in the entire hotel were just booked up indefinitely. So you can't do anything with the hotel because there are foreigners occupying it.
Yeah, you just can't do it. And then look at what this comment actually says. The remaining staff are told to wear their own clothes, no name tags, do not divulge any personal information to the residents, and they are told that the hotel cannot guarantee their safety. So that's how much the hotel trusts these men coming into the community. But of course, Greg Dyke's getting a backhand for it, so that's absolutely fine.
By the way, don't dress like you work at a hotel because people might be angry with you. Also, can't guarantee your safety when you're working there. Good luck.
Also, it's right near a load of primary schools, but we can't guarantee the hotel staff safety. But we're sure that nothing bad could happen with these schools. Absolutely fantastic. Would it surprise you to know that the local MP is this newly elected little Labour scrote?
No, not.
Connor Rand,
He was a trade union researcher.
Yep.
Oh, so he's done a real hard day's work in his life then.
Yep, and this is the very first time Altrincham has ever voted Labour to represent them.
Wow, that was a mistake, wasn't it?
Well, but it was probably not that they wanted Labour, it's just that most people didn't show up to vote for the Conservatives.
So who were the Conservatives who didn't vote for reform?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Jesus.
So in response, a number of meetings have been set. The first was a Tory council members with limited capacity. The MP did not attend, but this was filmed by Sky at the local church. Despite heated moments, it was amicable, unlike the next one, when Connor Rand, the local MP, organised a drop-in session at the Methodist church opposite the hotel. Lots and lots of people showed up, and he showed up with a bodyguard, for obvious reasons. Hundreds come and go as Rand is subjected to enraged locals shouting at him. A woman screams in his face and is escorted away by the bodyguard. Others call him a traitor, and a man advises that he should update his CV as he'll need it soon. Many tell him he's out of his depth. Any difficult questions, he tells, "Oh, it's above my pay grade," or "That's a question for the Home Office."
You're an MP, man. Come on.
Exactly.
Job.
But in the managerial hierarchy, that's above my pay grade.
Good point.
Sorry, I'm only a middle manager. You need a higher middle manager to answer that question for you, and they're all booked up at the moment, so we can't say anything. He didn't have any specific figures regarding costs. He confirmed the contract is 12 months, but may be extended, which means it will be extended. The locals ask if there's a curfew for the migrants. There isn't.
So they're just free to roam as much as they want. This is crazy.
And they've been given mobile phones.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's essentially a convenient way of everyone saying it's not my responsibility. It's someone else's.
Well, we've given them mobile phones, so at least we know they'll be working
Again,
Deliveroo.
Petty middle management incentive structures and behaviour. That's not my problem. That's more than my job's worth. It is literally a government of low IQ jobs worths. Yeah. That is what we have, especially across the local constituencies. Once a decision has been made on asylum, new migrants will be brought into the hotel, so you get a constant flow of invaders coming into your local community, eyeing up the children in the primary schools. Fantastic.
Prove us wrong.
Someone asks if they can be vetted if we don't know who they are. Rand says, well, they've been asked lots of questions.
They're vetted, they're illegal immigrants.
But we know from over here that the questions that they're asked, the people listening to those questions, are also jobs worths who are incentivised not to think too hard about it and push them through anyway.
Yeah, and they've got a stock response anyway. So, oh yes, I fled Turkey from in the back of a van, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but basically people were very, very angry the whole time, but one of the biggest annoyances that people got from this was this moment right here, where they learned that the migrants, when they were worried about whether they were going to start filling up NHS backlogs, don't worry, we've got a very simple solution for any backlogs in the NHS that could be caused by this.
There's things like the input to hospitals, doctors, dentists, the facilities we have, we're already fairly stretched, I feel, in the area. Is that going to be something?
So my
that's going to
understanding
impact?
is they're contracted with GoDoc, which I think is the sort of nighttime service. It's a private doctor's system. And my understanding, that's not a statement, but that should mean they won't be putting weight on our
So they won't be impacted on the local surgeries or the local doctors.
We're on 3 years waiting list at the hospital, and we're finding out that our services that's given to taxpayers in the UK isn't good enough.
that
Are they having Bradford? Are they really seriously on
that
Yeah, people furious.
It's always someone else's responsibility.
Just to make sure I'm clear about that, did he say that he was going to be paying for private healthcare for these illegal migrants?
Someone's going to be paying.
Well, yeah, not he. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
The local council, to avoid NHS backlogs, will be paying for private healthcare.
for a bunch of grifting loser men who have managed to sail across the channel.
Yeah, and what does the local news, because obviously this is Greater Manchester, there are local reports going on as well, such as this one from the Manchester Evening News. Arrivals that have divided a town.
Oh no, I think it may have united the town.
Yeah, well,
Who's in favour of this?
one or two idiots they can find. One or two people that they've cornered on the street and go, do you think we should let them in? And they're like, I think, yeah, sure, whatever. Let me get on with my shopping. Yeah. Yeah, asylum seekers living in a hotel in Altrincham have told of their traumatic journeys. So they get a nice puff piece. In the local news, they get a nice puff piece. And tell me if this sounds familiar to the Reddit post. One of the stories in this article, okay? Back at the hotel, Abel is explaining how he fled Eritrea as a small boy with his mum after his dad, a Pentecostal Christian, was arrested by police. To this day, he has no idea what happened to him. Oh, boo-hoo. I guess we'll have to take you in. I guess you're my responsibility.
Yeah, give him free healthcare.
Yeah, but pay for private healthcare.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But after moving to Ethiopia, he said the persecution continued and said his mum was arrested on suspicion of being a spy. Likely story. It's amazing how every single one of these people have some kind of like James Bond spy backstory. He was later told that she had died after being beaten while in custody. When I was a young boy, everything was good, but then it went bad. In Ethiopia, people thought my mum was a spy. They told us we were not Ethiopian. They told us to go to another country. So I had no choice but to be bussed over to England, put over in a dinghy, and then given free private health care by the local council. Amazing.
Pay the people traffickers.
That's a good question. I think
How did he afford that?
His explanation, I think, in the article is basically, oh, well, they snuck, some of the other people who had paid snuck me on.
Oh, really? Did they?
Yeah, sure.
Those people traffickers are running a loose ship, aren't they?
And again, as we know, if they can...
There's so much room on the dinghies.
I know, as we know from here as well, if they can prove that they're Eritrean, how... I mean, they don't have ID. They don't have any identifying
DNA
documents.
test them? What? I mean,
I doubt they do. Could you imagine if they're doing a 23andMe test for them? They just automatically get through.
Amazing.
Automatically put through, so they can be airdropped right next to a primary school near you, where maybe your children go.
If I wasn't married with kids, I would probably go to France, pay to get on one of these dinghies, come across, and look them dead in the eye as I go, yeah, I'm from Eritrea. Oh, yeah, no, you need to give me a hotel. Put me in the hotel. Give me the money.
This albino, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What about your accent? Well, I just really like British TV. You know, like, I would just see how far I could get with my obviously English accent through the system, just see if they'd... No, that's obviously not true. You know, I'm just so
But then who knows? You might even be able to put like an HMRC complaint through.
Exactly. Get them fired.
You're denying my human rights, bro. And this
just can't get...
This isn't specific to England or Manchester. This is happening in Ireland too. So this is in a place called Athlone, which is in central Ireland, where women are basically what's happening is in this area, an asylum centre is being built without the consent or information of the locals. In this video, the women are trying to block the vehicles carrying the building materials to the site that's going to have 1,000 migrants pumped straight into it.
They really are speed running the English experience.
Yeah, and here you can see the Garda, the Irish police, doing their civic duty, upholding law and order by pushing them around.
It's the same one again, isn't it?
Yeah! I mean, fair that they're in good spirits, but again, most of the time the police are not on your side with things like this.
Yeah, the police will do exactly what the state tells them, so don't ever think they're going to side with you.
Yeah, this article has more information on it if you want to check in the description below. But what it does say here is that the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth said last month that it planned to develop a new international protection accommodation centre at Lizziewallen, Athlone. The planned development of the Midland Accommodation Centre at this state-owned site will be supported by an extensive programme of local engagement.
I don't want to have to be forced to deal with these people.
The site being developed in Lizziewallen will provide tented and modular accommodation for international protection applicants. They're all children, bro. They're just a load of kids who look 30 years old. Work to enable provision of accommodation at this site will commence soon, as the first residents will be accommodated about 5 weeks after works commence. So you've got no time to prepare for this, no time to plan, no time to protest, except for maybe a few women get pushed around by the police. But happily, there have been protests with this, peaceful protests, where there have been people show up in enough numbers after this video of the police pushing these women come around that they have been able to block some of the trucks and lorries carrying building materials and at least slow down the airdropping of potentially violent invaders into their town. It's so bad that even the local council there, the local authority, has put in a complaint to the government and said, we never agreed to this. We don't want this. We're some tiny little town in the middle of Ireland. That's probably more like 19th century peasant town than anything than anything in England.
And we've had several segments on this topic.
Oh yeah. It's
multiple times.
Yeah.
Atrocious.
And not to say that obviously this is all completely intentional. There's been this very famous clip come out over the past few days of John McTernan, former aide to Tony Blair, saying that we want to destroy the small farmers, do to them what Thatcher did to the miners. So this is all completely intentional. They want to destroy your local community. They want to break up local ties, local bonds, local traditions and cultures so that you can just be another deracinated tick box, another deracinated figure on a spreadsheet that could be moved around according to the whims of middle management. And at the very least, somebody like Jeremy Clarkson in the UK and England is starting to try and stand up with it and using pretty extremist terms by saying that they're trying to ethnically cleanse British farmland. And whatever you think of the language he's using, he's right. He's absolutely right. And people do need to stand up.
That will be the consequence of this, even if that allegedly isn't the intention. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're enjoying the work we do and you'd like to support us, go to lotus.com, sign up for only £5 a month, and go and watch our Lads Hour about the elections. We're just salt mining and putting our enemies into crystals for this for an hour and a half. I'm not going to say it's our greatest intellectual work, but it is a lot of fun. And also go and follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at lotuseaters_com.